And I selected as a first topic something that I called unconscious system. So what happens if we don't have any self-development system, any plan or action of doing stuff? And I want to collect knowledge, my current knowledge about this at this stage, and talk about this in a detail. So I create some material to either comment on or discuss that documents my current knowledge about this topic. So this meeting is still investigatory. In the future, I will for sure improve this page, but right now, this is the current stage. So this community that I'm talking about, Systems of Life Engine, the goal of this community is to collect knowledge about self-development system, classify them, tell what works for different people, and generally have it like in a very scientific way to talk about this. Before starting to really consider life system design, because this is another way of naming what I am doing, that is creating a system of change in your life, it makes sense to analyze what happens if we don't have any system of action present in our life. And I encountered many ways how people phrase this state of mind, state in people's life when they say that they have no system. So I will go through different metaphors, and maybe some of them you encountered, you are more familiar, others are new to you. So I will go through some of them. So the first metaphor that describes living without any system is named as being NPC in your life. So this is from the computer games when NPC stands for non-playable character. So this is scripted character that is in the background of the story, and it has no ability to impact the world in the computer game. And we and some people use this metaphor of being NPC to describe how most of the people around us live. So we are a background character in our own story instead of having agency and being able to transform an environment around us. This environment, which can be social media, political forces, family and friends, other institutions and organizations, they actually decides what we are thinking, what we are doing. So this is the first metaphor, how we can think about people who don't have agency over their life. They have no system whatsoever. The other metaphor that I like to use is about using the metaphor of Groundhog Day, which is the movie created in '94, describing Groundhog Day. So this is a movie where the character is trapped in one day and he repeats this day over and over again. Everything happens the same way. He meets the same people, and here we can see like the short video from this, where the character is having the same way of living the day, and he need to deal
Yeah,
with the boringness of life.
I remember this movie. This is a great movie. Yeah.
Yes, it's a great movie. This is why I remember this, and it stacks to me that we all, to some extent, live in a Groundhog Day because we every day do the same thing. And like in this character in the main story of Groundhog Day, we are trapped in this Groundhog Day and we cannot escape it. So we have no tools to get out of this. The third metaphor that I know from to describe unconscious system. So having no system is from George Gurdjieff. So this was a philosopher, mystic, spiritual teacher, composer, and movements teacher, Armenian but born in Greece. and he is the author of The Fourth Way, some kind of very spiritual movement, but without involving religion. And his main claim that he described, for example, in the Search of Miracles book, written by Ouspensky, that you can read if you want, I recommend this, was that men are machines, uh, which is very similar to people are NPC of their life. So man is a machine. All his deeds, action, words, thoughts, feelings, convictions, opinions, and habits are a result of external influences, external impressions. Out of himself, a man cannot produce a single thought, a single action. Everything he says, does, thinks, feels, all this happens. Man cannot discover anything, invent anything, all it happens. All people you see, all people you know, all the people you may get to know are machines, actual machines working solely under the power of external influences. So this is like the main point of his teaching. And actually main point is how to get out of this state of being the machine. Very interesting concept. I won't go into detail in this, but this also, in a different way, describes the same phenomenon. Another way that I encountered is living on autopilot, which is the phrase I heard first in the mindfulness book, actually in 8-week plan for finding peace in frantic world. So this once again the same thing. So we are in the prison of habits, and every day we do exactly the same thing. We are just living on the autopilot. We don't think what we are doing. We are even not aware of what exactly we are doing, because we are just doing this every day the same way. And another metaphor of living on an autopilot, of living in a Groundhog Day, of being a machine, of being NPC in your life can be found in Hero's Journey. Hero's Journey is the concept described first by Joseph Campbell, and it's present. The concept of hero journey is present in most of the myths, actually in most of the movies, and the movies are very frequently based on the hero's journey. And the first stage of the hero's journey is living in the ordinary world, where the character is still living in his old way, and only when so-called call to adventure happens, then his life completely changed, completely alters, and this call to adventure forces him to change his life and transform the world. So these are the metaphors of unconscious system that I found. But if you know more, then obviously let me know. Um, I'm talking not only to people who are in this call, but also people who watch this later. Why is being in a sleep mode the default? So I found three explanations right now. One is the homeostasis. So humans is a machine of habits, and habits constitute a personal homeostasis. So we are in some kind of homeostasis that and we want to keep. So we want to do things that we already done, because this doesn't require changing energy. And to change yourself, to change something, it also requires energy, and we don't want to spend energy when we don't have to. So this is why this is a default mode. There are also another explanation. So for example, Healthy Gamer claims that the reason of living on an autopilot is trauma. So trauma is just forces us to not even start changing ourselves, because we are so afraid of our of to change something that we don't even start. Maybe let me play part of this
Today we're
video.
going to talk about how to stop living life on autopilot. In my psychiatry practice, I would get tons of patients who would come in with essentially this complaint. And they would look slightly differently. So people would come in with something like chronic depression or people who've been depressed their whole life. Other times it would be people like students who they could study for a test, but theoretically they know they should be networking or they should be doing extracurriculars, and they couldn't seem to motivate themselves towards actually moving towards something. And so it seemed like there were almost two groups of people. There's this group of people out there who sort of thinks about the future, acknowledges that moving towards the future is going to require intention and direction and effort, and they successfully sort of move towards it. And there's this other group of people who sort of just lives life reactively. If something happens to them, they can respond to it. If there's some sort of external deadline, they can find some degree of motivation, but they usually procrastinate and wait till the last second.
So he frames as a procrastination a lot, that people just even don't start doing something new.
But they can't seem to find the motivation, discipline, or willpower to actually craft a life with direction. Hey there, thanks for watching. And I'm glad these videos have been helpful. To build a trauma response, which may sound kind of surprising because we'd be interested in, check out the link in the description below. And it turns out that this is actually a trauma response, which may sound kind of surprising because we tend to think about, okay, if I'm living my life on autopilot, isn't that an issue of like lack of discipline or motivation or whatever? I'm not a self-starter. But it actually turns out that due to a lot of recent research we've discovered, this is actually a very common trauma response in a large portion of the population. So the research with this actually starts like maybe in the 60s, when there were trauma researchers who discovered that people who experience trauma have this problem called the paralysis of initiation. And so what that sort of means is they noticed that POWs, prisoners of war from places like the Vietnam War, had difficulty sort of setting some kind of intention or direction in their life and following through with it. And that these prisoners of war essentially lived life in sort of a survival or reactive mode. Essentially what they're doing is just going through life every single day. And if something happens to them, they can respond to it, but they can't seem to kind of formulate a plan for the future. And you may be listening to this and sort of thinking, well, okay, that makes sense for people who are prisoners of war, and we'll explain what the principle is. But as we did more and more research on trauma, what we started to discover is up to even 50 or 60% of the population has this kind of response. And we looked at people like kids who grew up even in non-abusive households who can sometimes manifest this paralysis of initiation. So what causes the paralysis of initiation? It comes down to something called being raised in an environment of coercive control. So if we look at the prisoner of war camp, what happens there? This is a situation in which you have no control over your life.
I think this will be enough for having the point that he claims. So he claims that a lot of living in the autopilot is caused by trauma, and frequently trauma is caused by the way how we were raised as a children, under a huge control from our parents. And I like also how he phrased the term that people are very reactive when they are on autopilot. So so that's about this. And then the third reason why being in a sleeping mode is a default, sometimes claimed by many people, is that we are kind of like a puppets of corporations, politicians, and social media. So some people claim that those medias makes us doing things that we are doing because they want us to do it because they earn money, for example, based on that. And I will run on the example from Owen Cook, which talks a lot about this.
What is the typical thing that I see with derping? It's some of the following things. Number one, driven by wanting to be numb. Okay, so that word numb. Oh, no.
So when he says derping, actually he means living on this autopilot.
And number two, driven by a desire to be on autopilot. Say autopilot. Oh. Okay, so in other words, what this means is that most of us, basically what happens is that when we're younger, we get traumatized, like bad things happen to us. And then I jokingly, as a joke, like to call it the satanic entertainment system, just a joke. I think it kind of just makes it very visceral. Say that with me, satanic entertainment system. I call it that. And what I mean by the satanic entertainment system is the fact that we eat food that has very, very low nutrition, which then deprives our brain of the needed nutrients to be able to think clearly. Then we wake up, we take stimulants to wake up because we didn't sleep properly. We go to bed at weird hours, we wake up at weird hours, there's light flooding through the window in most cases, you have too much light in your room. Then we have to wake up tired and take more stimulants so we don't get good sleep. So imagine your brain's already low on nutrition, then you're on low sleep. Then you're looking at media that has too much flashy jump cuts going on, so your attention span is being depleted. You live in a world where the heroes and role models are often people that are very degenerative. I had to coach a guy the other day who, his role model was rapper Future, and he said that he just wants to take drugs the rest of his life and do all these other things I won't mention here. And I think Future's a pretty cool rapper and whatnot. I could enjoy his music. I'm not like uptight about that. But if that becomes your real role model, that's a challenge. I remember I met somebody out at a club, and you can see this person view Cardi B as a Tony Robbins cassette, and they were playing Cardi B on a loop while driving around the city frantically looking for things I also won't mention here. So basically, what you have is that we have degenerative role models, attention span depleting media, bad nutrition, bad sleep, demoralized as a society. I mean, think of the degree of demoralization that we have socially to where when you even say hi to somebody on the street, they often don't even want to talk to you. Think about that for a minute. Like staring into their phone, you ask them a basic question and they're just like, yeah, whatever. Because they feel so disconnected. Like when you see someone doing that, don't even be mad. You should feel bad for them. They don't even know how to look somebody in the eye or have a basic conversation with somebody. It's completely insane. So that's the kind of world that we live in. And then what they do is because we're not present to the moment and because we're kind of traumatized and stuck in the cess, the satanic entertainment system, as I'm jokingly calling it, and I'm using that terminology just so that whenever you see this, you can recognize it quickly. You're like, oh, that's the cess. That's what it will say to you. Your brain will just go boom, and you'll see it happening to you. And that doesn't mean to go around moralizing people, and it doesn't mean you can't have a little fun. You want to listen to Cardi B, listen to Cardi B. It can be fun. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I like gangster rap, I like NWA, all that stuff. But that's not a Tony Robbins self-help tape. That's entertainment. Okay, it's like if you play Grand Theft Auto, that's fine, but that shouldn't be a code for life. So that's kind of what you have to get at yourself. Now, going from that.
Yes, I think this will be enough like to explain his point. So he used the word derping. And he talks a lot that the way to make people going into default states is through entertainment. So all of the things that makes people engage. So social media, TV series, junk food, and all of this stuff make people that they doesn't even want to change anything because those stuff hook them. So this is the third explanation of being in a sleep mode. If you have any other ideas or explanations, then obviously let me know. Features of living in autopilot. So in all of those videos that you can watch later, few elements was mentioned. So first is just being unable to change your reality because this is the environment about us that decides what we are doing, what we are thinking. The second part is that we have even no faith in changing reality and our life. And typically this emanates through blaming others that we cannot change ourselves or something needs to happen in the world in order that we achieve something, we do something. Escapism, which is just binging on social media, binging on TV series, etc. And the fourth feature is resemblance to other people. So because we are all living in autopilot, we are consuming the same social media, etc., etc. We are very similar to each other. There is not enough. There is not many people that are unique, that they are independent. This point is described in a detail by Gurdjieff when he describes about men being machines. So these are the four items that I for now listed about features of living on autopilot. The other thing on the agenda that I didn't went into very detail is it good to live on autopilot? Because that's obviously a good question. If doing something, changing our reality requires energy, then maybe staying in this in the current life, not changing any fields, anything, or using this also another metaphor from Matrix, taking a blue pill and being in a sleep, because this is actually another very popular metaphor, is maybe better than fighting with world, changing something in our life. So I for now leave it as an open question, but generally we want to change something, we want to have a better life. So we don't want to be in this constant way of living, but we are in some kind of trap and we cannot escape it. How to get out of the autopilot? So there are three conditions, in my opinion, that needs to be satisfied to get out of autopilot. So I think you need to have a proper mindset and a proper system, and there has to be something that triggers the desire to change. So maybe I will start with the last one. I call it call to adventure because Hero's Journey once again describes this. So there needs to be some event that makes our life in ordinary world not satisfying enough. Here is Hero Journey defines an event called as the call to adventure that motivates protagonists to make action. Without this event, we just don't have motivation to, or we don't have enough motivation to change anything. So this event is necessary in order to start even the process. But this is not guaranteed that when this event happens, we will start doing anything because we still need to have a proper mindset. So to get to out of the autopilot, the person needs to believe in having agency over their life. Because when we don't have the belief that we can change anything, that we won't even start doing anything. So having this belief that we can do something, nothing will happen. And this is explained in a great way by this guy, Homat. So I will run this.
Thinking. These are levels of psychological development. I use them to explain why people are the way they are. When you are born, you start at the lowest, simplest level. Every newborn baby cares about nothing but its own needs and feelings. As you grow and learn, you start putting things together. Level 2 is when you find out that other people have their own needs and feelings and you can connect with them. Level 3 is when you realize that you live in a big world full of people who are connected to each other and you can manipulate those connections for your own goals. And it just gets more and more complex. Everyone goes through the levels at a different speed and everyone stops at a different place. The way that each person grows through the levels depends on a bunch of different factors, just like how a plant needs sunlight and air and water and soil. It's not just one thing. In places that have all the right ingredients, the average level is about 4 or 5, with about 15% at level 6, but the average in the world is level 3 to level 4. And when you find out what that means, it can be kind of shocking. Understanding is
Let me skip the advertisement.
or click the link in the comments. It'll help everything fall into place. This is my new levels chart. It's much easier to read than the old one. It has 9 rows for the 9 levels that we know about so far, and the columns here tell you what the levels are like. Over here, it shows different ways to divide the levels up. You can divide them any way you want. You can do 100, you can do 2, you can go high and low. And I'll go into these in later videos. There are more than this. This is just to give you a sense of it. I use really simple language, no more of this stuff. I copied that from somewhere. Nobody knows what it means. This is what the level does, and this is what it wants. Levels 4 and 5 are the most popular ones in our culture. You should recognize them.
So generally speaking, all levels below 5 are levels when we don't have this belief that we have agency over life. We just conform to society and we try to apply to rules that the society gives. Only since level 5 we actually are doing something to accomplish something. So at this point we can have this belief that we can change something.
People at level 4, the way that they think about life is they conform and they follow rules in order to belong to a way of life and fit in. And when that way of life gets suffocating, when it's too constricting, then they start to try to improve, develop, advance, become something greater, accumulate something for themselves so they can achieve success and live a certain lifestyle, their own lifestyle that they want. You should recognize these 2 levels being really popular in the West. If you go to like a dense city area, people will still be mostly at levels 4 and 5, but there's going to be a higher percentage at 3 and 6. When I explain what they are, you'll probably recognize those 2. I'm eventually going to make a packet that's going to have like 20.
Yes, I think this will be enough for this short introduction of this one. Mm. Here. Yes, so having a proper mindset, as explained in this video, is about having this level of thinking at least at level 5, because we have the lower level of thinking, we just don't believe we can change anything because we blame other people, we blame organization, we blame politics, we blame everything, that we cannot change the reality around us. So having a proper system is a second item, and the third item is having a proper system. So having a system of change that works. And the whole community that I'm building is about this, about having and finding a proper system that works, that can transform us from place A, from state A to state B. I won't be talking about this today. This is the place for other meetings in the future. but having a proper system is also necessary. So mindset, system, and some event call to adventure. And this summarizes my current understanding of something that currently I call unconscious system. So there is some kind of system that we are living, but this system doesn't help us to achieve anything because actually the environment around us decides what we are thinking, what we are doing. Do you have anything to say, Nalina?
No, like the kind of clearer now. But maybe that in the end I will ask you to share the links because like it's interesting, especially the last one video. Mhm.